Hi everyone. Good to see you on my channel today. Today I will tell you a wonderful story. It is full of love and kindness. I hope you enjoy it and I wish you an enjoyable viewing experience. Thank you.
Selena asked Angelica, who had returned from another interview. They said they would call back, but as I understand it, they want to find someone else for this position. The woman replied sadly, realizing that this job is not based on experience or diploma, but on acquaintance. I see, so you will continue to sit on our neck? Asked the mother-in-law, realizing that her daughter-in-law has not been able to find a job for several years. You know very well that I'm looking and trying, but it's not my fault that in a small provincial town to do it is not easy. Tell me it's my fault, Selena objected. No, it's not your fault. It's just that it's harder to find something decent than it seems, answered Angelica, justifying the dozens of unsuccessful attempts to find a job. Strange, I have succeeded. My husband has succeeded, and even my son has found a job. Only you have some problems, replied her mother-in-law, who has been working as a barmaid at the local factory for 20 years. You live here all your life. You have a lot of relatives and acquaintances. Angelica tried to explain, but realized that her mother-in-law was not interested in it. Yes, of course, everyone is to blame and only you are white and fluffy. Selena sarcastically reacted, continuing to tease her daughter-in-law. I have another interview tomorrow, and I'll try to do my best again. Try to do your best, but you're sitting on our and Victor's neck as if it's the right thing to do. We bring home money, groceries, and what did you do? With criticism and reproach asked mother-in-law. I sew at home, of course, money is not much, but at least some copa chica is, replied Angelica, earning at home that sews under the order of clothes for the parents of his son's classmates. And how much did you earn? I don't see any money. You know that I spend it all on Jack, buying him textbooks and paying for tutoring, Angelica replied, explaining where she spends her small but honestly earned money. Oh, yes, right. Tutors that no one needs, Selena replied ironically. Jack needs them because he's into foreign languages and he definitely has an aptitude for it. I'm sure he'll make a great translator one day, able to support himself and his family, replied Angelica, believing in her son's future success. It would be better for him to learn something useful, replied the mother-in-law, who dreams that her grandson, like her husband and son, will become a good locksmith. What? You want another locksmith in the family? Jack is not made for that. He is a smart boy and should realize himself. Is that so? You mean my husband and son are stupid? Selena flared up, taking Angelica's words to heart. No, you misunderstood me. I just want my son to be able to realize himself and his desires. You are raising a mama's boy, not a man, mother-in-law muttered under her nose, and not wanting to continue the conversation, went to her room. Angelica wanted to follow her mother-in-law to object, but she realized there was no point, as the woman would continue to object and argue in an attempt to spoil her mood. Deciding not to do so, Angelica headed to the kitchen to prepare dinner for the whole family. After checking the refrigerator for food and making a rough menu for the evening, she decided to call her husband to ask him what he wanted and to try to please Victor. Hello, darling. How are you? Are you working? Angelica asked, having reached her husband. Hi, yeah, I'm working. Do you have something urgent or what? Her husband asked in a disgruntled voice. I'm cooking dinner and decided to ask you what you would like for dinner. Maybe there are some special wishes. Are you distracting me for such a trifle? Are you kidding me? I've been working since morning. I'm on an important project, and you're calling me to discuss women's business? Cook whatever you want. I'm busy and I have no time to talk. Victor replied sharply, and without waiting for the words of his wife, hung up the phone. Having heard such indifference from her husband, Angelica took it to heart and was very upset because she wanted to surprise and please her beloved man. Realizing that he did not need it, the woman decided to prepare dinner, which in the first place will please her son, who was delayed at the tutor in German. A couple hours later, Angelica heard the front door slam and, stepping out into the hallway, saw Jack returning from his tutoring session. Hi, son. How are things going at school? How are you doing with the tutor? Is everything working out? Asked the caring mother. Hi, Mom. Everything is good. I got 2 A's in physics and English. It's still difficult with a tutor because I've just started learning a new language, Jack replied, sharing his progress. I'm sure you'll do fine. Shall we go to dinner or will you wait for Daddy? I want to do my homework, so I can wait, replied his son and went to his bedroom to prepare for tomorrow. Noticing that her husband was late at work and it was already late enough, Angelica went to her son and called him to the table because he needed to eat to gain strength. Trying to help Jack in everything, the woman checked her son's homework and helped him with an assignment from the tutor, checking the correct pronunciation of some words and phrases in German. Soon Angelica heard her husband come home and, leaving her son alone for a few minutes, hurried into the hallway to meet Victor. "Hi, why are you so late? I was waiting for you at home 2 hours ago," said Angelica, meeting her spouse. "So what? I was at work, and then I stayed late because I had an urgent matter. Do I have to report to you or what?" Victor asked in a disgruntled voice, taking his wife's concern as a nag. "No, but you could have called and warned. My son and I were waiting for you. I thought we would have dinner together." "I don't want anything," replied the husband, from whom the odor of alcohol could be heard. "Is it just me, or have you been drinking?" Angelica asked, having heard the unpleasant odor. "What do you care?" "Yes, I let myself a bottle after work with friends. I have the right," Victor answered angrily and, ignoring his wife, went to the kitchen. Hoping that her husband would change his mind and have dinner, Angelica followed him. But it turned out that Victor just decided to take a bottle of hot drink to continue what he had started with his colleagues. "Maybe you've had enough?" carefully asked his wife. "Leave me alone. I'm not bothering you. And you don't bother me," the man replied unhappily and went to the living room, falling on the divan in front of the TV. The wife tried to talk to her husband once again to tell him about her son's success in school, but quickly realized that he did not care about her or Jack's grades. Deciding not to continue the empty conversation, Angelica returned to her son to continue helping him. Repeating phrases and making sure they were pronounced correctly with Jack, Angelica struggled to hold back the tears of resentment and frustration that seemed to choke her, holding her tightly by the throat. Trying not to show it to her son, the woman swallowed the resentment, distracted by Jack's homework, and sincerely hoped that he would be able to escape from all the horrors surrounding her for more than a year. Noticing that it was getting rather late, Angelica returned to her bedroom without disturbing her son's sleep. Seeing that the drunken Victor was also asleep, the woman decided to distract herself at least a little, sat down at the sewing machine, began to fulfill another order for the mother of one of Jack's classmates. Her husband was sleeping so soundly that he was not disturbed by extraneous noise and sounds, so Angelica could quietly do her favorite work without fear of waking Victor. After working for a few hours, the woman finished working on the order and hurried to bed to sleep at least a few hours. Angelica woke up to the alarm clock, realized that another day had begun, promising her another hope of finding a permanent job. She woke her husband and son, then rushed to the kitchen to make breakfast for Victor and Jack. There she met her parents-in-law, who were already finishing their meal as they needed to rush to the factory. Trying not to provoke Selena Vladimir enrollment into a morning scandal, Angelica decided not to talk to her and concentrated on cooking breakfast. Soon Victor and Jack, who were a little late for work and school, arrived in the kitchen. "Sit down at the table, all hot," said Angelica, hurrying her husband and son. "Mom, can you give me some money?" Jack asked. "Why? I gave it to you yesterday, didn't I?" Angelica asked. She was surprised that her son had already spent all his pocket money. "I need to buy an instructional book, and I wanted to start learning French, and for that I need another tutor," replied her son, explaining the increase in expenses. "French? You have only recently started learning German. Maybe it will be enough for now. You are only in the 7th grade. You will still have time," replied Angelica, realizing that she has no money. "Yes, I understand, but I really like to learn different languages and I would like to try to learn French. Can we do it later?" "I'm sorry, son, but I don't have the money to pay for another tutor," the mother replied sadly, realizing that she couldn't provide for all her son's needs because sewing at home brings too little and inconsistent income. "Here, take this, it should be enough," said the grandfather, handing his grandson a few bills. "Thank you," Jack responded happily, hugged his grandfather, and ran to his bedroom to pack his backpack and leave for school. "Thank you, Archie," said Angelica, thanking her father-in-law for his financial help. "Of course, thank you is easier said than earned. This money doesn't grow on a tree," Selena said wryly, stepping in to rebuke Angelica. "Come on, she's looking for a job," Archie objected, trying to defend his daughter-in-law. "Yes, she is. She's been looking for a job for years, and she can't find one," Salima answered and looked at her husband menacingly, as if forbidding him to answer or comment on her words. Watching from the sidelines, Angelica realized that the words of support would not wait any longer, so she decided to go back to her bedroom to sew and take her mind off the whole thing. Victor, watching what was happening, could have intervened and protected his wife, but he never did, and this time was no exception. Still living with his parents, Victor did not dare to cross either his father or mother because they completely controlled him and got him a job, using old connections and acquaintances. "Have you forgotten that in 2 weeks your husband's birthday is coming up?" Her mother-in-law asked her wryly, looking into Angelica's bedroom as soon as everyone had gone to work. "Yes, I remember everything. I thought you were late for work," Angelica replied, not understanding why Selena hadn't left with the others. "It's okay. They'll wait a bit. Better tell me, where are you going to celebrate this event?" asked her mother-in-law. "I do not know. I have not thought about it yet, but most likely at home," replied Angelica, realizing that there is no extra money in the family and it is cheaper to organize a modest family dinner. "Ha, you're so clever. You're going to dump everything on my husband and me again. Where are you going to get groceries? Are you going to ask Archie and me for money again or what?" asked the woman, provoking her daughter-in-law into a scandal. "I will solve this issue without your help," Angelica replied firmly, and not listening to what her mother-in-law said to her, concentrated on her work at the sewing machine. Realizing that there was no point in further conversation, Selena left for work. As soon as Angelica heard the door slam, she started packing so she wouldn't be late for another job interview. On the way, she thought several times about every word she would say to the possible employer and hoped she could make a good impression. The interview went great, and it seemed to Angelica that she had a real chance of snagging a permanent job. Dreams were shattered after a few minutes because the man received a call from a friend asking him to hire his wife. Despite the lack of experience and diploma, he could not refuse the friend, so he left Angelica without hope of employment. Returning home in upset feelings, Angelica realized that she did not want to humiliate herself in front of her mother-in-law and ask her for money for groceries to prepare for Victor's birthday. She decided to do her best and even a little more. Angelica called her clients and asked if they needed anything made at a reduced price. Having received several quick and not complicated orders, the woman was genuinely happy about it, realizing that now everything is in her hands and she can earn enough money to independently organize a holiday dinner for the whole family. After that, Angelica went to buy the initial materials. When she returned home, immediately began to work. In the evening, her clients came to her to take measurements and make clarifications to the order, expressing their wishes. All households are annoyed by the presence of strangers in the house. As soon as Angelica let the last customer go, who not only made an order, but also made an advance payment for the work, Selima decided to express her displeasure. She reminded who is the master in the house. "I'm sick of your constant guests. How many times do you have to bring just anyone into the house? They will steal something else, and then I have to look for it," said the mother-in-law. "What are you guys doing?" "They're the moms of Jack's classmates, and they're good and decent women, so there's nothing to worry about. I wouldn't want just anyone walking around our house either. Stop bringing guests, or we'll tell them directly." Victor supported his mother, setting a condition to his wife. "Actually, they pay me money. I'm trying to earn money," answered Angelica, explaining that it is a forced measure. "It's not money, but tears," said Selena, not appreciating her daughter-in-law's labor. "Even I am tired of having strangers in our house," supported his wife and son Archie. Realizing that the conversation is useless, as everyone is against her, Angelica did not say a word, went to her bedroom and closed the door, showing her unwillingness to communicate. The mother-in-law and her husband took it coolly, considering it another victory over a weak and defenseless daughter-in-law. But Victor did not calm down. Moreover, the act of his wife made him angry. He went after his wife. The man decided to deal with Angelica and arranged a scandal with loud shouting and clarification of relations. "Don't you dare yell at your mom," stood up for his mother. Jack came home and heard what his parents were fighting about in the bedroom. "Oh, what? You're telling me what to do? Get out of here so I don't see you," Victor yelled at his son, not wanting him in his room. "Don't yell at your son. He didn't do anything wrong." His mother stood up for Jack. "So you're all together, huh? You're good and I'm bad. Now I'll show you what love and respect means," Victor said and swung at his wife. Frightened, Angelica closed her eyes, realizing that her husband would take out all his anger and irritability on her. The boy, taking his mother's side, tried to protect her and shoved his slightly tipsy father away. "What do you think you're doing?" Victor asked, not expecting such actions from Jack. "Don't you dare hurt your mom," the boy replied, getting between his parents. "Jack, go to your room," Angelica said, worried that Victor might get angry with him too. "No, I won't let you get hurt, neither Dad nor anyone else," replied the schoolboy, not wanting to leave his mom alone with his drunken father. "Yes, you've brought up a mama's boy. Nothing good will come out of him," Victor said. "One would think that you are a real man if you raise a hand on a woman," Angelica replied sharply, defending Jack, whom she had brought up, surrounding him with attention and care from the time he was a baby. Salima and Archie, who heard the quarrel, came to the bedroom and, watching the scandal, decided not to stay aside. "How dare you talk to my son like that? He took you, married you, and such gratitude in return? You're a nobody and you're living off the land, so have some respect for us and for Victor. If you keep this up, you'll live on the streets," Selena said, defending her son. "She's got a lot of self-importance," Archie agreed. "What a family," muttered Angelica, and realizing that further dialogue will only exacerbate the situation, sent her son to his room. Avoiding communication, the woman hurriedly packed, threw on a coat, went outside to get some fresh air, and somehow distract herself from another tiresome scandal. Going to a park nearby, Angelica sat down on the nearest bench and began to watch the people around her. She saw happy married couples with children, hugging and kissing, giving time to the kids and rejoicing at every little thing. The woman looked at all this and she became sad, because in her marriage with Victor she never felt loved, and the last couple of years seemed like hell, eating her from the inside. Realizing that she needed someone to talk to, Angelica decided to call her mother, because she was the only one who would always listen to her and support her. "Hey Mom, how are you?" "Hi, sweetheart. Dad is at work and I'm a little sick, so I took a sick leave and sit at home. How are you?" Ariana answered, her voice sounding happy to hear from her daughter, as they hadn't been talking as much as they used to lately. "Get well. We're not doing well," Angelica replied in a sad voice, unable to hide her emotions. "Did something happen to Victor or to Jack?" her mother asked fearfully, worried that something might have happened. "No, with Jack everything is all right. He's good, he is engaged, but with in-laws still everything is difficult. They continue to reproach me with every penny and I cannot find a job. Today we had a big fight because I tried to earn money by sewing, but neither Victor's parents nor he himself did not appreciate it. Yeah, what a family. I was against this marriage from the start, but you didn't listen to me. You know that I fell in love with Victor and thought that he would be as tender and romantic as when I met him. If I had known then that he would raise his hand on me," sighed Angelica, 15 years later realizing that her mother was right. "Did he lay a hand on you?" "He tried, but Jack defended me." "Good for you, grandson, and you don't make it up. If this attitude continues, you can move in with us. We'll always help and support you. Maybe you'll all come together, and Victor will be softer away from his parents. We have a bigger city and more opportunities too, so you'll find a job. We'll get Jack into the school you went to, and everything will be fine." "It's unlikely Victor will never agree to anything, as he is strongly attached to his parents and colleagues," replied Angelica, realizing that her husband will make a choice not in her favor. "Look yourself, my girl is an adult, but do not let yourself and your son offend. If anything, I will always understand you and support any decision," replied Ariana, realizing that this marriage is almost doomed. "Well, thank you for your kind words and support," Angelica replied, and realizing that it was already late, ended the conversation. She sat in the park for a while longer, waited until everyone at home was asleep. The woman returned home. Trying to distract herself from bad thoughts, Angelica again sat down at the sewing machine to work on another order. After finishing the work and I do everything for you, but you only hurt me. How hard it is for me to live near you. So no one forcefully keeps you here. You can pack your things and leave here," said her mother-in-law, having expressed all reproaches to Angelica, and then quietly went to work. Trying to distract herself from the problems in the family, Angelica again took a lot of orders and plunged into work, hoping that it would allow her not to think about conflicts and at least somehow improve her financial situation. She will become more free and independent. In the evening, Victor returned from work and, as if not noticing his wife, went about his usual business. Angelica wanted to try to talk to her husband or find some common ground, but realized that he was still angry and it was better not to disturb her husband. The next day, Angelica decided to do something nice for her husband. She prepared lunch and went to his place of work. Once there, just at the beginning of the lunch break, the woman went inside the building where her husband works. "Hello, can you tell me where I can find Victor?" Angelica asked, having met her husband's drinking colleagues in the room. "Hi, Victor. So he was with us. He must have gone somewhere," answered one of the colleagues. "How could he be with us? If he went to the backyard, look for him in the warehouse," added the other one. "Okay, thank you," Angelica replied, and after closing the door to the room, she went to the back door to go to the backyard. Noticing the warehouse a few meters away, the woman headed towards it, opened the door, and caught her husband with the storekeeper. Disappointed, Angelica threw the lunch bag, said not a word to her husband, ran away, crying bitterly. Walking around the city, the woman realized that she did not want to return home because no one would understand or support her there. Going to a park nearby, she sat on a bench to distract herself and watch other people. A few minutes later, Angelica unexpectedly met Selena Vladimirovna returning home earlier than usual. "What are you doing here?" her mother-in-law asked. "Breathing fresh air and trying to understand why your son is such a pig." "Why are you insulting Victor?" asked Selena, who was ready to attack her daughter-in-law for being so disrespectful to her son. "I'm saying what he deserves. I came to his work. I thought to please him with a delicious lunch, and he is there with another woman," said Angelica, and cried again because she was unbearably hurt and offended. "What did you want? I told you that with someone like you is hard. So he is looking for a way to find a better woman," quite calmly reacted mother-in-law, again repeating her usual reproaches. "You know very well that I'm trying for his sake." "Oh, what are you doing there?" "She is trying. You can't find a job. You bring up a child with a sissy, and you're constantly fraying our nerves. Let's go home. We need to cook dinner," said her mother-in-law, and headed towards the house. Angelica didn't want to obey the nasty woman, but she realized that she really had to go home because soon Jack would be back from school, and he was hungry and needed his mother's attention. After waiting for the boy, Angelica focused on him and, avoiding further communication with her parents-in-law, closed herself in her son's bedroom with him to help prepare his homework. Toward evening, remembering that the weekend was ahead, Archie suggested to his wife to go to the dacha, since they had a lot of work to do there. Selena didn't really want to go, but she wanted to see Angelica's tear-stained face even less. As soon as the in-laws left, the woman breathed out a sigh of relief because she could at least have a couple of hours to herself. Her son fell asleep, and she went to the kitchen, made a cup of hot tea, sat opposite the window to admire the spring sunset. Realizing that her son was asleep and Victor's parents were not at home, Angelica decided to use this to talk to her husband and finally clear things up by dealing with the day's situation. Angelica waited for her husband to return home after midnight and called him into the kitchen to talk. Afraid to wake her son, Angelica closed the door as she realized that a scandal was inevitable. "Well, how you explain what I saw today?" "What do you mean?" Not understanding what we are talking about, Victor calmly replied as if nothing had happened. "Don't play dumb. You know exactly what I mean. Who is that woman I saw you with? How long have you been with her? Don't make things up. It was a casual affair by mistake." "A mistake? And often you so mistake?" indignantly asked Angelica, amazed by the calmness of her husband. "What do you care? I'm coming home. I'm giving you money. So be happy and keep quiet. What else can I do? Why don't I find you mistresses myself?" "I'll tell you when you do, but don't bother me now. I'm fed up with you already. If I'd known it would be like this, I'd have never married you. Not only that you are always nagging me, but also stop looking after yourself. Look who you look like," Victor complained to his wife, who had lost a little of her former beauty for 15 years of life together. "I am at home day and night. I do everything for you. I do not have enough time for myself, as you and my son in my first place. And in vain, you only bother me," and from the son made an incomprehensible thing. "Take into account, I'll take a vacation. I'll take care of his re-education," Victor replied, continuing to fuel the scandal. Returning to the topic of infidelity, the couple continued to argue and clarify relations. At some point, Victor could not stand it and hit his wife in the face with a swing. Having cried out from pain, Angelica did not expect that her son would hear and wake up. As she began to cry, she saw Jack run into the kitchen and see what was happening. Once again standing up for his mother, the boy tried to calm his father, but he did not listen to his son, called him a brat, and pushed him away. The schoolboy hit the wall hard and split his head open. Seeing red stains on the floor, a frightened Angelica rushed to her son and began to examine the wound. "Get out of here or I'll call the police," she yelled at her husband not to touch Jack. Victor ignored Angelica's threat and went to the bedroom to go to bed. After giving Jack first aid and bandaging his head, Angelica realized that the abuse could not be tolerated, especially in relation to her son. Without wasting a minute, she began to gather her son's belongings and clothes, and then put her suitcase together. Talking to her son and explaining her decision, the woman heard words of agreement and support, and realized that the boy was also tired of such a father, unable to be an attentive and caring parent. While Victor slept, Angelica and Jack left at dawn for the train station, bought 2 tickets for the nearest bus, went to Angelica's homeland. Waiting for her husband from the night shift, Ariana was preparing breakfast and cleaning the apartment when suddenly the bell rang. The woman opened the door. She was pleasantly surprised to see her daughter and grandson on the doorstep. At the same time, the woman did not expect the appearance of relatives because Angelica did not warn about her arrival. Inviting her daughter and grandson into the house, the woman helped to carry the suitcases to the bedroom and, returning to the relatives, sent Jack to the bathroom to wash his hands after the road. She herself went to the kitchen to her daughter. Ariana put the kettle on, made tea, decided to talk to Angelica to find out the reason for their such an unexpected visit. "Is something wrong? You didn't tell me you were coming." "Yes, it did. I don't know if I should talk about it, but do you mind if we stay with you?" Angelica answered, not knowing how to begin the story of what had happened. "Yes, of course, you know you are always welcome. Tell us what happened there." "Lately, communication with my in-laws has only worsened, but I was ready to tolerate it out of love for Victor. It all came crashing down the moment I showed up at his workplace and found him in the arms of another woman. When I returned home, he didn't apologize or make excuses, but instead made a scandal, during which he raised his hand at me and pushed Jack, who was defending me. Realizing that he didn't love us, I decided this couldn't go on. We packed our bags and left." "I told you he was no good for you," came out of Ariana's mouth. "Yes, I remember, but I was really hoping that everything would be fine," Angelica replied, disappointed. "I'm sorry, I understand your hopes and desires. I'm sorry for what happened, but you shouldn't despair," Ariana replied, supporting her daughter and her decision. At that moment, the father came home, and after hearing the conversations in the kitchen, he came in and saw his daughter upset. "What's wrong?" Barry asked. "So my daughter, you go rest, and I'll talk to my father myself," said Ariana, and letting Angelica go, stayed alone with her husband to tell all that she had heard from her daughter. Having learned the truth, Barry wanted to call Victor and tell him what he thought about it, but his wife talked him out of it, realizing that there was no point. Joyfully accepting their daughter and grandson, the parents allocated Angelica and Jack separate rooms, realizing that the teenager needs personal space for study and recreation. The family spends all weekends together. With her family around, Angelica has calmed down a bit and has come to her senses after what happened. Realizing that she does not want to sit on the neck of her parents, the woman said that she needs to find a job. Barry and Ariana supported her daughter's desire, but suggested that she take some rest and take care of the child, because Jack should be enrolled in school. Agreeing with her parents, Angelica looks at a few options. "Are you looking for something?" Mom asked, noticing that her daughter is digging on the internet. "Yes, I want to find a better school for Jack," answered Angelica. "Why are you looking for something?" "Your school has opened a specialized foreign language class, and I think it's exactly what he needs." "Yes, that would be wonderful," Angelica agreed, realizing that her mother was right. On Monday morning, the family gathers for breakfast and Angelica's parents leave for work. The woman, together with Jack, goes to the nearest school, which she once graduated from herself. There is a security guard who asks to escort her to the principal's office. Waiting until the man is free and invites her into the office, Angelica mentally replayed in her head the dialogue with the principal, hoping that he will enter into her situation and take Jack in the middle of the school year. Leaving her son in the waiting room, she went to the office and, opening the door, noticed a solid man in a business suit and glasses. "Hello, what is your business?" the headmaster asked politely. "Good afternoon, my name is Angelica. I would like my son to study at your school." "Have a seat, let's discuss. How old is your son?" "Jack is 14 years old, finishing 7th grade. We had to move from out of town. I know it's hard to find a place in the middle of the school year, but I really hope you'll be able to help us out. Jack is a very capable boy, and I'm sure you won't regret your decision." "I understand, and I think I can help you," John replied, absorbed by Angelica's story. He didn't know and didn't want to ask about the details, but he decided to help the sweet and pleasant woman because in her eyes he could see helplessness and a certain oppression. "Yes? Really? I would be very grateful to you," Angelica replied, hoping that the principal would really help her. "We have several specialized classes. Can I tell you more about them?" "No, I don't need to. My son needs a specialized class with in-depth study of foreign languages," replied Angelica, clearly knowing what her son needs. "Great, we have a shortage of students, so it won't be a problem. Do you have all the documents?" the school director asked. "Yes, of course," replied the woman, handing over the folder with documents that she had taken from another school before returning to her parents. "Good. In that case, I'm happy to inform you that from tomorrow Jack can start his studies. Would you like me to introduce you to his homeroom teacher?" "Yes, I'd love to. If it's all right, I can get Jack. He's sitting in your waiting room." "Of course, it would also be good for him to meet his new teacher," the principal replied, and after contacting the secretary on the conference call, demanded that the 7th grade teacher of the foreign language class be found and invited into the office. "Hello, John. Did you call for me?" a woman who looked into the principal's office asked timidly. "Yes, come in. Meet Angelica and Jack, and this wonderful woman Sabrina is Jack's class teacher," said the man, introducing them to each other. "Pleased to meet you," replied the teacher, who was clearly surprised that the principal had taken someone in the middle of the school year, knowing his character and his love of order and rules. "Likewise, I hope we will have only pleasant occasions for meetings," answered Angelica, shaking hands with her son's class teacher. After a little chat, they discussed all the details, and having summarized the conversation, left the principal's office. Angelica returned home, bought a small cake to celebrate a small victory in the family circle, and the fact that Jack would go to a class that could give him a lot of new and useful things. The next morning, the schoolboy went to class, found his class shy, hesitant to go in there. Sabrina approached the classroom and noticed Jack, realized that he did not dare to enter. The bell rang for the lesson. The woman realized that the boy needed to hurry up and took him into the classroom, introduced him to other children. He took an empty seat. From the first minutes, the boy demonstrated excellent knowledge and erudition, pleasantly surprising the teacher. "Hi, your name is Jack, right?" asked the neighbor in the desk, waiting for the school break. "Hi, yes, and what's your name?" asked the boy. "My name is Ga. As I understand, you know English very well. Will you help me?" shyly asked the guy, noticing that the neighbor in the desk is very smart. "Yes, of course," easily agreed Jack, realizing that this would allow him to create a friendly relationship with his deskmate. Distracted by other children, the schoolboy met his classmates and was pleasantly surprised because almost everyone was kindly disposed to him and, noticing the erudition of the guy, wanted to communicate with him or become friends. After school, Job and other classmates offered Jack to play soccer on the sports field, and he, in order not to be out of the new team, supported their idea. During the match, Jack was pushed by one of his classmates and fell down. Thinking that it was an accident and a usual game episode, he kept silent and continued playing, but a few minutes later the story repeated itself. "What do you want from me? Are you trying to show me that you're cool or what?" Jack, who was calm enough, couldn't stand the disrespectful attitude. "Yes, I did. Do you have something against it?" Avon asked calmly and as if mocking the guy. Hearing this, the schoolboy realized that he couldn't back down, otherwise he would let everyone mock him. Defending himself, he pushed Avon so that he fell down. Seeing the conflict, one of the classmates ran up and pushed Jack, becoming on the defense of the bully clinging to him. "Stop it, that's enough," shouted Gob, who noticed what was happening and decided to protect Jack. "You want to get some too?" Sam asked. "Take your chances," Gob replied and put his fists forward, ready for a fight. "Leave them alone, we'll deal with them later," Evan told Sam and got up and walked away with him in the other direction. "Who are they?" Jack asked, wanting to know more about these provocateurs. The one you almost fought with is Evan, our school bully and the son of a local businessman who thinks he's allowed to do anything, and Sam follows him around like a dog or a little jackal, and he's a sycophant, hoping he'll stick up for him, Gob answered, explaining who was who. I see. Well, if they come at me again, you don't get involved. I'll take care of it myself, Jack replied, realizing that he wasn't afraid of the bullies and was ready to fight back. In the evening, the family gathered around the kitchen table to eat dinner and share their progress of the day. The grandmother, who works as a nurse at a polyclinic near the house, told a funny story about a new doctor who accidentally mixed up patients, which led to a conflict. In turn, the grandfather told about the story at the garment factory, where he was a watchman for a long time and repeatedly got into embarrassing situations. In the course of communication, loved ones noticed an abrasion on Jack's face. What is this? Have you been beaten? Angelica asks worriedly, afraid that he will not be accepted at the new school. No, Mom, I'm fine. I made friends with my roommate and was generally very warmly received. Then how did you get that abrasion on your cheek? We were playing soccer after school and I fell. Don't worry, it's okay, Jack said, not wanting to tell his mother about his petty problems and troubles. Don't worry about it, they're boys. It's normal for them to get bumps and bruises like that, Barry said, supporting his grandson. It's easy for you to say, but I'm worried, Angelica objected. Don't worry, I'm an adult, so it's okay, Jack replied, reassuring his mother. Okay, but if you have any problems, you must tell me, Angelica replied. You better tell me, how did you spend the day? Grandpa asked, trying to change the conversation in another direction. What about me? I cooked, cleaned, and did other household chores. To be honest, I was kind of bored, and I would like to go to work, said Angelica, realizing that you need to earn money. Why? Take a vacation, you've only recently moved. My mom and I make a decent income and are able to provide for you. Stay home, take care of the baby, and give him time to adjust. Besides, you need to get away from Victor, Barry replied, asking his daughter to rest and start looking for a job later. Angelica wanted to object, but her mother supported her husband, and she realized that it was easier to agree than to argue, because she didn't want to. A few weeks passed, and Jack gradually got used to the new school. Unlike his previous place of study, he had a real friend here, with whom he developed a good relationship. Gob turned out to be a very cheerful guy, so they spent all the breaks together, ignoring the other classmates, helping each other with their studies. Another biology lesson divided the friends, as the teacher asked the school children to divide into pairs of boy-girl. Jack, not knowing who to choose, thought for a long time, and in the end he got Maria. Well, are we going to work together today? The girl asked. Yes, we have no choice, replied Jack, who wanted to do the lab work together with Gob. Are you good at biology, or do you need help? Maria asked, noticing that the boy was nervous. To be honest, I'm not very good. I'm more interested in foreign languages, Jack admitted. Don't worry, I'll help, replied the girl, and, keeping her promise, did all the lab work herself, letting her classmate rewrite the results of the work. Jack heard the bell ring, rushed out of his seat, and not seeing any obstacles in his way, ran to the cafeteria to get in line and buy something to eat. Gob, who had been less fortunate in his choice of partner and had to do everything himself, repeating to the girl several times what he had done or written down. He took a free table by the window. Gob wanted to talk to his friend, to tell about how hard it was for him in class, but Jack was interested in something else. Can you imagine? This Katya knows absolutely nothing, said Gob, remembering the recent biology lesson. Wait with Catherine, you better tell me about Maria, Jack interrupted. What about her? Gob asked in surprise, not expecting such a question. Well, who she is, do you know anything about her parents? Does she have a boyfriend? Maria's a straight A student, so she doesn't socialize with anyone and concentrates on her studies, but I wouldn't recommend paying attention to her. Why is that? You think she won't pay attention to me? Jack asked sadly, thinking he wasn't smart enough or pretty enough for such a girl. No, that's not the problem. Evan really likes her, and he's been chasing her for a long time, and competition with that bully is fraught with consequences, Gob explained. Well, that doesn't scare me, Jack replied smugly, realizing that there were no problems or obstacles, and everything depended on how their communication would work out. A few more weeks passed, and Jack finished 7th grade. Grandfather decided to entertain his grandson. He took a vacation, decided to devote it to the boy. Calling an old army friend, Barry agreed on his arrival and warned that he would not be alone, but with his grandson. The boy was pleased with such a surprise from his grandfather because they could spend time together and have a good rest, distracted from studies and work. Gathering all his things and saying goodbye to his mother and grandmother, Jack went with his grandfather to the village, where he expected a lot of interesting events and fun adventures. Angelica and Ariana were left home alone, and while her grandmother worked, Angelica took care of the apartment, doing the usual household chores. One summer day, Ariana went to work, and Angelica was cleaning the apartment when suddenly the phone rang. Running to the phone, the woman was extremely surprised as she saw the name Victor on the screen. Her spouse had not called her since his departure, and this call was very unexpected and even a little frightened Angelica. "Hello," said the woman, gathering her thoughts and answering the call. "Hi, how are you?" Victor asked dryly. "Are you really interested in this? You haven't called or written once in so many months, and now all of a sudden it's how are you?" "Well, we have to start talking somewhere. Can we talk normally, or do you want to start with a scandal?" "Okay, I do not want to fight. What you wanted, I have little time. So let's get to the point," replied Angelica, realizing that she does not want to talk to her husband for a long time, as she does not like every minute of their conversation. "I had a hard time with your departure and wanted to follow you, but then I realized that it would do nothing and decided to leave you alone. Now I have another woman and I think we are serious." "Congratulations, is that why you called me?" "No, I just want to file for divorce and I had to give you notice. Besides, we have a minor child, so you know there could be complications during the divorce proceedings." "And what do you suggest to me?" Angelica asked, not understanding where her husband was going. "If you want everything to go quickly and without problems, you need to come and sign all the papers. By the way, you cannot count on alimony, because now I'm unemployed," replied Victor, who wants to get married for the second time. "Okay, I'll think about it and call you back tomorrow morning," answered Angelica, and not wanting to continue the dialogue, hung up the phone. For the next few hours, she couldn't think about cooking or cleaning, as she tried to understand whether she should go or whether it was a trap and Victor was up to something. Realizing that she could expect anything from him, Angelica decided to wait for her mother to tell her about her conversation with her husband and make an informed decision. After meeting Ariana from work, Angelica set the table and decided to talk during dinner, but she couldn't find the right words to start a delicate conversation. "Do you want to ask me something, or am I imagining things?" asked the observant Ariana. "Yes, I have something to tell you," replied the daughter, realizing that her mother was ready to talk. "Tell me what's already happened here," said the woman, pushing the plate away and concentrating on Angelica. "Victor called today. He wants a divorce and asked me to come to sign the documents. What do you think about it? Are you going to come or what?" "I don't know. I wanted to ask you. I don't trust him much, and to be honest, I'm even a little afraid," said Angelica, realizing that you can expect anything from your spouse. "Do you think he would dare to hurt you?" Ariana asked worriedly. "No, I will not allow it, but he may say some nasty things. However, it is easier to tolerate and get a divorce than to endure his calls or fear of coming to us." "You thought about it. Maybe there's still a chance for something to work out." "No, he has another woman, and to be honest, I'm just glad," Angelica admitted, and having decided that she had to go, went to her bedroom to pack her things. The next morning, going to the train station, the woman returned to the city where she had spent the last 15 years. They met Victor in a public place. Angelica felt safe in the knowledge that he wouldn't be able to raise his hand at her in a cafe. Surprisingly, the man was quite attentive and gallant, and most importantly, sober. They talked a little, drank a cup of coffee. The spouses agreed that at this stage their relationship had reached an impasse and it was easier to put a stop to it. Angelica signed all the documents. After that, she said goodbye to her husband, wished him all the best, returned home the next evening. Mom was not home yet. The woman went down to the store across the street and bought a cake to celebrate the divorce with Victor. "Hi, are you back already?" Ariana asked when she came home from work, seeing her daughter in the kitchen. "Yes, and I have good news. I have signed all the divorce papers," answered Angelica. "I hope everything works out for you." "Yes, I hope so too, as I think it's time to start life from scratch, and first of all I need to find a job, because I'm tired of sitting at home." "I understand and support you," answered the mother. She noticed the cake on the table, went to wash her hands and have dinner with her daughter to celebrate the beginning of Angelica's new life. Realizing that her son was on vacation and in the village with his grandfather, the woman decided to use her free time by looking for a job. After checking several advertisements, Angelica encountered her first difficulties. Night shifts are not suitable for her, where they require relevant work experience or a diploma. Angelica has none of these things, as she married early and did not have time to get an education. Several attempts to go for an interview ended in nothing, as none of the vacancies were suitable for Angelica, or she did not suit the employers who needed more qualified specialists. Back home after another day of searching, Angelica shared her worries with her mom. Ariana did not doubt her daughter, so she calmed and supported her, assuring her that everything would definitely work out. A couple of days later, she again went to the interview, and having received another rejection, decided on the way home to go to the supermarket to buy groceries. When she noticed an announcement that the store needed a cashier with no education and no work experience, Angelica got excited, thinking that this was a great chance for her. "Hello, do you still need cashiers?" Angelica asked the manager. "Good afternoon, no. The staff is already staffed and the ad is not relevant," the man replied. "That's a pity. Why haven't you taken it down yet? We did not have time to remove, but alas, there are no places. Perhaps will appear a little later, but I cannot say how soon. If you want, you can leave your cell phone number, and I will call you back," said the manager, suggesting to wait a little. "Okay," Angelica agreed, realizing that she had no other choice and options. In frustrated feelings, the woman lowered her head, went to buy groceries, and suddenly ran into a man with a grocery basket. "Oh, excuse me, please," she said, noticing that the stranger had dropped the basket and scattered the groceries on the floor. "That's okay," he replied politely and bent down to pick up the groceries. Looking up, Angelica recognized the stranger as the school principal. "I'm sorry, John, I was just thinking," she said, apologizing again. "Angelica?" the man asked, recognizing the woman as the mother of his student. "Yes," Angelica answered timidly. "You look so sad. Is something wrong?" the headmaster asked. "If you have a minute, we can talk, but let's settle up first and talk outside," Angelica replied. Agreeing with the woman's proposal, the man went to the cash register and, having paid for the goods, waited for her near the supermarket. A few minutes later, Angelica came out with 2 bags and, seeing that the man had waited for her, was pleasantly surprised. "What's your problem, if it's not a secret?" John asked again. "I've been looking for a job for a couple of weeks now, but it's not working out because I have no education and no work experience. I've been working as a seamstress at home, but they are reluctant to hire me," Angelica said, telling him about her problems. "I don't know if I should offer you, but one of our technicians went on maternity leave, and I need a new cleaner for the school. I understand that the job is not prestigious and the salary is modest, but you will be close to your son," replied the school director. "That would be wonderful," Angelica replied happily, smiling at the man who offered to help. "In that case, come to the school and we'll draw up the documents," John replied, and noticing that he was already late, said goodbye to the woman, got into his car and drove home. The next morning, Angelica got a job and sincerely thanked the school principal who gave her this opportunity. The man believes that he didn't do anything special because he wanted to look for a cleaning lady anyway, and the fact that he offered the job to Angelica is a lucky coincidence for both of them. Soon Jack and Barry returned home. They decided to organize family gatherings. Angelica took money from her mother, bought all the necessary things, and prepared dinner. "How was your vacation?" Angelica asked her son and father. "Oh, wonderful. I have already forgotten when I had such a vacation," said Barry, who had not taken a vacation for more than 5 years. "It was the best vacation of my life. We went hunting, fishing, and swimming in the lake near home. And I almost got lost in the woods picking mushrooms, but my grandfather found me quickly and explained how to navigate," Jack added, talking excitedly about his time in the village. "What do you mean, lost?" Ariana asked worriedly. "Don't worry, he was only there for an hour," the man replied, reassuring his daughter and spouse. "I'm glad you had a good time. We also have good news. I finally found a job. Moreover, I will always be able to be with Jack," answered Angelica, telling that she had found a job as a janitor at the school. "That's great. I'm glad it worked out for you," said Barry. "Yes, things would be different now," the woman added, telling about the divorce as well. Jack reacted calmly enough, realizing that with such a father, there would be no good family. Understanding and supporting his mother's decision, the boy hugged and kissed Angelica, showing his agreement with her action. Realizing that the vacations were about to end, Jack was preparing for the new school year, and Angelica went to work, met the teachers, the head teacher and her colleague Natasha. The first working days seemed quite difficult for the woman, because the school is large and she has a lot of work to do. At the same time, Angelica realized that it was necessary to get used to it because she had never worked anywhere, so any work will seem difficult. At the same time, Jack began to get his first days, pleasing his grandfather, grandmother, and mother. A few days later, the boy realized that studying was given to him too easily, but without in-depth study of German and French, he was bored. "Mom, we need to talk," Jack said, after waiting for his mom to come home from work. "Yes, son. What did you want to talk to me about?" Angelica asked, lying down on the divan to rest a little. "Can you find tutors for me in German and French? The school program isn't enough, and they only teach the basics, but it won't allow you to know them well." "Son, I understand you, but I just got a job. Let me get my first paycheck and look for a tutor," answered the mother, explaining the temporary financial difficulties. "Why wait? Grandma and I can pay for everything for our only and most beloved grandson." Barry intervened in the conversation, having heard Jack's request. "Dad, I feel bad. You do so much for us," replied Angelica, who didn't want to take money from her parents. "Stop it. Your grandson is sacred, so there's no question about what's convenient and what's not," the father objected. "All right. In this case, I will soon look for a specialist," Angelica replied, which pleased her son. A couple of weeks later, the class teacher informed the children that the whole class could go on a field trip to a museum in a neighboring town. Upon returning home, Jack told them about it. Realizing that there was no paycheck yet, Angelica wanted to explain to her son that he would not be able to go, but the grandparents said they would pay for the trip so that her grandson would not stand out and go with everyone else. Soon the class began to prepare for the trip, and shortly before God was sick, he called Jack and said he couldn't go. The next morning, the school children gather around the bus. Realizing that there is no best friend, Jack sits next to Maria since she is going alone. "Where's God? He will not be there," the girl asked. "No, he's sick and can't come with us," Jack replied sadly. "I see. That's too bad. How are you doing in biology? Everything is going well?" Maria asked, remembering that the guy had difficulties with this subject. "I think so, but I could use your help. It's more than 2 hours away. If you want, I can explain a new topic." "Oh, I'd be happy to," Jack said. On the way, the students not only studied the new topic, but also talked, getting to know each other a little better. Realizing that they were having fun and comfortable enough together, Jack and Maria stuck together. After the field trip, the class went to the cafeteria for a little snack and rest before heading back. Sitting down at the same table, the students continued to chat, getting to know each other. At some point, Jack realized that Maria was very interesting to him not only as a classmate, but also as a girl with whom he would like to continue communicating. After lunch, all the students got on the bus, and Evan, who was following the couple, pushed Jack. "Don't even dream about her," Evan hissed in his classmate's ear. "I can tell you the same thing," Jack replied sharply. "Well, we'll see about that," Evan replied and headed for the bus. When Jack returned to his hometown, he thanked Maria for the pleasant conversation and went home to tell his mom about the trip and his impressions from the excursion. Can you imagine? There were hundreds of paintings, and some of them, as the teacher told us, are worth several $1,000,000, Jack admiringly told his mom during dinner. "Wow, so expensive. I take it you enjoyed the tour," Angelica responded. "Of course, it was very fun and interesting. Besides, I talked to a girl that I like very much," Jack answered, having spoken about communication with Maria. "Really? And what is this girl's name? Is she from your class?" asked his grandfather, who was listening to his grandson's story. "Yes, we are classmates. Her name is Noria." "Maria is a beautiful name," said the grandmother, realizing that this is the first sympathy, maybe even a crush of her grandson. "She's very pretty in general," Jack noted, and he became very embarrassed and blushed. The next morning, realizing that it was Saturday, the schoolboy decided to check on his friend. He bought a chocolate bar on the way to Gob's, visited his classmate, and without restraining emotions, told about how their excursion had gone. Most of all, he paid attention to the story about Maria, because she is a very pleasant, sweet, and interesting girl whom he likes very much. Gob is genuinely happy for his friend, but asks him to be careful because Evan is courting her and is unlikely to like it. Jack admits that they had a small confrontation, but he is not afraid of it because he will be able to fight back the offender. In addition, he noticed that Maria liked him. A week later, Jack found out that Maria's birthday is coming up. Deciding to surprise the girl, the boy came home and decided to talk to his grandfather. He waited until his mother and grandmother went to the kitchen to be alone with him. "Grandpa, can I ask you something?" "Yes, grandson, what do you want?" Grandpa asked. "Could you give me some money?" Jack asked timidly. "What do you want it for?" "Well, I wanted to surprise a little girl since her birthday is coming up." "Marie? I take it that's right." Barry decided to ask. "Yeah, I like her a lot and I thought I'd buy her some flowers to congratulate her." "That's a good idea. I support such deeds," the grandfather replied and reached into his wallet to give his grandson a couple hundred for a modest but beautiful bouquet. "Thank you very much," Jack said happily. He took the money and hugged his grandfather tightly. "You're welcome. I was like that myself, so I understand," Barry said with a smile. After asking his grandfather for the money, Jack went to a flower store on his way to school and bought a small bouquet to surprise Maria and wish her a happy birthday. Stopping at the threshold of the school, the boy decided to wait for the girl, realizing that it was better to present the bouquet not in the classroom, but on the street. A few minutes later, he saw a classmate who was coming to meet him. "Hi, are you waiting for someone?" Maria asked, seeing Jack with a beautiful bouquet in his hands. "Yes, for you. Happy birthday, and I wish you always to remain as nice, kind, and beautiful," said the boy, handing Maria a bouquet of flowers. "Thank you very much. I am very pleased," the girl replied and smiled, as she did not expect anything like this. As a thank you, she kissed Jack on the cheek and saw him embarrassed and blushing. The bell rang. The students decided to continue their conversation after class and headed to school. "Hey, Casanova, wait a minute," Evan called out to Jack, who had been dropped off at the school by his father. "Do you need something?" Jack asked, turning to his classmate. "Yes, I want to talk," he answered, and walked toward him with a quick step. "Come on, you don't want to mess with him," Maria said and grabbed Jack's hand and dragged him into the classroom. "Don't you understand what I told you?" "Come here," Evan said, catching up with his classmates in the classroom. "What do you want?" "I'm not interested in talking to you," Jack replied, trying to ignore the bully. "I didn't ask you what you want and what you don't want. I'll be waiting for you after school. We have a lot to talk about," Evan said, shoving the boy in the shoulder and going to take his seat, realizing that the teacher would be in the classroom any minute. "Should we go to the cafeteria?" Maria asked, approaching Jack during the big break. "Yes, why not?" the boy answered cheerfully, not expecting the girl to invite him to the cafeteria. "We wanted to prepare for the test," responded Gob, to whom a friend had promised to solve a couple of problems in physics. "I'm sorry, but it's not going to work. You know I like Maria a lot," Jack replied, explaining the change of plans. "Be careful with her. Evan is already looking at you crooked," replied the friend, who noticed that the tension between them was growing. "Don't worry, I'm not afraid of him," Jack replied in a calm tone, and apologizing to his friend once again, went to the cafeteria with Maria. They bought tea and a couple of cakes and took a free table to continue their conversation. Pleasant for both of them. Walking into the dining room, Evan noticed Jack and Maria chatting sweetly nearby. Infuriated, the bully came up behind Jack and kicked the chair leg with all his might so that Jack fell over. "I guess you never heeded my warnings. I told you to stay away from her," Evan said, mocking Jack as he lay beside the chair. "I'll decide what and who I do with. She doesn't like you, so you can fuck off and forget about Maria," Jack argued defiantly. "Boys don't fight." Maria tried to calm the boys down, but it was too late. Evan wanted to hit his classmate, but Jack jumped to his feet and blocked the blow. A fight broke out between the boys, which was watched by all the school children, filming what was happening on their phones. There was a commotion in the cafeteria, to which the teachers in the nearby teachers' lounge came running. A few moments later, the boys' class teacher was also there. She intervened in the fight. The woman with difficulty separated the boys, and taking them by the hands, went to the principal. "Wait for me here," Sabrina sternly ordered, and knocked on the office door and went in to tell John what had happened. A few minutes later, the principal opened the door and looked sternly at the hooligans who had started a fight in the cafeteria. "Both of you come to me now," John said in a menacing voice. "You will deal with them," or my class is about to start," said the class teacher, glancing at her watch. "Yes, Sabrina, go ahead. We'll take care of it," the man replied, asking her to close the door behind him. "That's unlikely," Ivan commented snidely on the principal's words. "Who started the fight, and what was it about?" the principal asked, and looked intently at Jack and then at Ivan. "Nothing happened. She's lying," Evan said, accusing the teacher of slander. "You're kidding. The whole cafeteria saw you two fighting like country cocks. What was the reason for the fight?" John asked again, raising his voice at the students. Neither of them answered, not wanting to talk about what had happened and not wanting to tell the headmaster about their personal affairs. "Tomorrow, both parents will go to school. Both of you, and now go to class," the headmaster said threateningly and sent the boys away, warning them that they had played out and that this was just the beginning of the proceedings. Back in the classroom, Jack was very upset, so he did not communicate with either Maria or Gob. After waiting for the end of the last lesson, the boy went home and closed himself in his room, concentrating on his homework. When he heard his mother come home from work, he realized he needed to talk to her and tell her what had happened. He really did not want to upset his mother and talk about everything that happened at school, but he could not ignore the order of the director because it could lead to irreparable consequences. Waiting for the most appropriate moment, Jack informed his mother that the principal wanted to see her in the office. Trying to be honest and sincere, the boy told about everything that had happened in the cafeteria and asked his mother not to be angry with him. The next morning, Jack woke up reluctantly, realizing that his mother had been called to the principal's office and nothing good would come of it. Having breakfast, the boy took a long time to pick at his plate and leisurely packed his backpack, anticipating the upcoming conversation between his mother and John. Noticing that her son wasn't in a hurry, Angelica hurried Jack along, as they were already running late. As they approached the school, Jack spotted Gob, but he wasn't in the mood to talk to him or explain anything. Going up to the second floor with his mother, Jack stayed in the waiting room, while Angelica went to the principal's office. "Hello, may I come in?" the woman asked, looking into John's office. "Good morning." "Yes, come in. We were just waiting for you. This is Mickey, Evan's father." "Hello, nice to meet you," said Angelica, glancing at the man sitting a few meters away from her. "Hello, I can't say the same, because your son is ill-mannered and is picking a fight with Ivan," replied a sullen Mickey. "Let's not jump to conclusions, but let's get to the bottom of the situation," the principal objected, deciding to find out all the details of yesterday's fight. "You shouldn't talk badly about Jack. I've brought him up well, and he would never get into a fight first." "Oh, yeah, right. I don't know why we're here if it's so obvious," Evan's father replied. "But let's get to the bottom of it. Do you know why your children fought in the cafeteria?" the principal asked. "Yes, my son told me that the boy was always provoking and insulting him. I was teaching him to stand up for himself, so he couldn't stand it and retaliated, which resulted in a fight," said Mickey, justifying his son. "I don't know who was lying, you or your son, but that's not what happened at all. My Jack has been hanging out with his classmate Maria for a long time, and yesterday they had lunch in the cafeteria. Even knocked a chair out from under Jack, and as a result of that a fight started," Angelica answered, telling how it really happened. "Where did you get that from?" Evan's father was outraged. "My son has no secrets. He told everything that happened yesterday. You know, I've talked to other kids and teachers, so I'm inclined to trust Angelica," the headmaster pointed out. "Oh, yeah. So you've decided to blame everything on my son. Mind you, I can go higher," Mickey said, defending his son. "No, we don't want to make Ivan guilty, but the facts prove his guilt. Jack is a diligent student and a very well-mannered boy. Angelica works as a technician for us, and I've known her for a while, so I can trust her word," John replied. "So you're a janitor?" Evan's father asked disdainfully, looking at Angelica. "What's the big deal? Does that change what happened yesterday?" Angelica asked, noticing the look of the man sitting nearby. "No, but it's clear to me," he answered. "Let's do the following. I won't punish anyone. But if history repeats itself, both Jack and Evan will look for another school. Do you agree with me?" said the principal, offering a solution to the conflict. "Yes, I'll talk to my son, and I'm sure it won't happen again." Mickey gritted his teeth and got up from his seat and left the principal's office. "I'm sorry, I've spoken to Jack, and I'm sure it won't happen again. He's a very good boy, so he couldn't have been the instigator of the fight," Angelica told the headmaster when she was alone with him in the office. "Don't worry, I believe you and I won't punish Jack," I've known both Evan and his father for a long time, so I know what kind of family they are," sighed the principal, who had already faced Mickey more than once. "Thank you for understanding. If you don't mind, I'll get back to my work," Angelica replied politely and went to the back room to change and start scrubbing the floors in the corridor. Upon leaving the principal's office, Mickey was extremely angry and resentful of what had happened. Without waiting for the end of class, he walked into the classroom and, apologizing to the teacher, picked Ivan up, saying that they had urgent business to attend to. Heading to the car, the man was silent, but the play of muscles on his face showed that he was indignant, displeased, and angry, as if he wanted to say something, but could not find decent words for it. Watching his father's behavior, Ivan realized that something was wrong, but he did not dare to ask, afraid that his father would punish him severely. "Are you out of your mind? Do you have nothing better to do or what?" Mickey asked his son as soon as they got into the car. "I'm sorry, Dad. It's not my fault. It's just that he's courting a girl I really like," Evan replied, trying to justify his actions yesterday. "I'm not interested in what happened last night or why. Don't you dare get your hands dirty with the technician's son again," his father said. "What do you mean?" Evan asked in surprise. "Didn't you know? Jack is your janitor's son, and apparently he and the principal have been working together to make you the worst of it. Don't you dare go near him again," Mickey replied, telling his son that the cleaning lady Angelica was Jack's mother. In the evening, Angelica came home from work and talked to her son, telling him about what happened in the principal's office. She is not angry with her son and understands him, because the boy's words were completely confirmed. Realizing that his mother was understanding, Jack calmed down and is glad that she is so kind, wise, and forgiving. Having learned his homework, Jack called Gob and told him everything that had happened. His friend congratulated him on getting off lightly, but reminded him that Ivan was very vindictive and would definitely think of something to provoke him again. Realizing that, Jack promised to keep his temper in check and ignore the bully. The next morning, Jack came to class and saw Evan standing at the blackboard. "Oh, look who's here to see us. It's the son of the washerwoman," Evan said, pointing his finger at his classmate. "What do you mean? What are you talking about?" asked the surprised classmates, not understanding what they were talking about. "What do you mean? Don't you know? Jack is the son of our cleaning lady, Angelica Vasilievna." "That can't be true," some of the classmates reacted. "Tell them it's true. Why didn't you tell us right away that your mother washes and cleans toilets at our school? Were you ashamed?" Evan continued to provoke, asking unpleasant questions. "What do you care?" Jack replied, trying to keep his temper in check. "Yeah, well, I really don't care about you now. I don't want to get my hands dirty with someone like you," Evan said, and walked over to his classmate and shoved him away with his shoulder. Angry, Jack realized that he wasn't going to hold back any longer, because the bully was insulting not only him, but his mother as well. Clenching his fists tightly, the boy wanted to attack Evan, but the teacher came into the classroom as the bell rang and the lesson began. All through the class, Jack sat and heard the others discussing him, quietly mocking him. As soon as the bell rang for recess, Evan didn't miss the opportunity to tease Jack again. "Run to mommy, maybe she needs help cleaning the toilet," he said. "Better a mother who's a janitor than a father with no brains," Jack replied snappishly. "His father at least makes good money, and your parents are what?" Sam asked, supporting his classmate. It wouldn't embarrass Jack, but it upset him that the other classmates also started to stand up for the defender, supporting Ivan and taking his side. "Don't pay attention to him. He's got no brains and there's no cure," said Gob, who was the only one who supported Jack. "I'm trying, but you can see he's deliberately provoking," Jack replied, barely containing his anger. The next lessons were not much different from the previous ones, because not only Ivan, but also other classmates were laughing and quietly teasing Jack, trying to provoke him into a scandal. Realizing that it threatened his mother's reputation, Jack kept his emotions in check, but knew that at any moment he could reach a boiling point, saying everything he thought about each of them. After waiting for the end of the last class, Jack decided to distract himself from the problems and the onslaught of his classmates by talking to Maria. Noticing her rummaging through her bag, he waited until the other students had left the classroom to be alone with her. "How would you feel about me walking you home? We could stop by the park on the way and walk around a bit," Jack suggested, hoping the girl would agree. "Jack, you're a nice, interesting, and pleasant guy, but I don't think we should talk anymore," Maria answered, not raising her eyes at the guy. "Why? We are interesting together," Jack replied sadly, not expecting such a thing from a girl. "Don't you have any idea?" Maria asked, looking at her classmate. "No." "Is it because of the fight? You know that I fought for you." "No, the fight has nothing to do with it. I just don't want the maintenance worker's son to see me off. I don't have the best relationship with my classmates, and this will just give them another excuse to pick on me." "You mean like this? Because my mother works as a janitor at the school, you don't want to hang out with me?" Jack asked, surprised that the girl was bending to the crowd's opinion. "Yes, that's right, I'm sorry," answered Maria, and without letting Jack say a word left the classroom and hurried home. The devastated and disappointed boy could not move for a few minutes because he did not think that Maria could do that to him. As he left the school, he noticed God waiting for him near the entrance. "What took you so long? I've been waiting for you here for 15 minutes, if not more," Gob said, turning to his schoolmate. "I'm sorry, I don't have time for you right now," Jack replied, ignoring his friend. Not wanting to talk to anyone, he went home and locked himself in his room, trying to figure out what he should do next. Meanwhile, Angelica, who had finished her work on the second floor, noticed that the door to the principal's office was ajar. Deciding to talk to John again, the woman looked into the principal's office and noticed a man rummaging through some papers. "Excuse me, may I come in?" Angelica asked quietly, afraid to disturb the director. "Hello, yes, come in. I'm still thinking about what happened. Forgive my son again for his behavior. We talked and he promised that this will not happen again. He is a very good boy and focused on his studies. I don't know what got into him, but I'm sure this is an isolated incident. He should get a French or German tutor. He won't have time for this nonsense." "Your son is studying German?" John asked with surprise and delight. "Yes, but now it is difficult to find a good tutor who speaks the language at a conversational level," said Angelica. "I agree, there are not many good specialists in our city. Maybe I can help you. I was a German teacher before I was the director, and I lived in Germany for several years, so I can help your son," the director replied, offering his services. No, it is not convenient, and the salary of a cleaner is small. You understand, I cannot pay you," Angelica replied sadly, refusing to help. "I don't need anything. I'm a lonely person, and I'm not busy with anything except school, so I don't see any problems." "I understand, but I can't do that. Tell me, how much will one lesson cost?" the woman asked, hoping that her parents would help pay for the tutor's services. "For you it is absolutely free, and do not offend me with money. I earn enough," John replied, refusing on principle to pay for labor. "I don't know, it's awkward." Angelica was embarrassed, afraid to agree to the man's proposal. "I'll insist. I'm really interested in helping Jack, and I could use some practice speaking German myself, so he and I will help each other," said the director, insisting on his proposal. "Do you really think that would be convenient?" "Yes, more than convenient. I am very good to you, and I want to help your son as a human being because he is very capable." "Do you really think so?" Angelica asked, even more embarrassed. "Yes, I'm sure of it. Moreover, I have no doubt that one day your son will be the pride of this school," John answered and smiled, as he said it with a little bit of a joke, although he did not doubt that such a thing was possible. Realizing that the man really sincerely wanted to help, Angelica agreed and, returning home, told Jack about it, making him happy with the good news. Soon Jack began practicing German with the director. Since the man is lonely, he invited the schoolboy to his home, because there no one could prevent them from studying and practicing speaking a foreign language. Day by day, the boy improved his knowledge and, returning home, told his mother that the director was not only a good teacher, but also a wonderful person. At the same time, Evan continues to tease Jack and mock, not only at him, but also his mother, washing toilets. Other school children for a long time actively support the provocateur and also mock Jack, trying to bully him. Gradually, everyone got tired of it, and only Evan and Sam continued to tease the guy, hoping that he would get into a fight. Hardly restraining his emotions, Jack was distracted thanks to his friend and immersed in his studies, realizing that the best way to shut up provocateurs to realize themselves in the future and rub their noses in it. Several years passed in this way. During this time, Jack and John became not just a schoolboy and a principal, but friends able to talk quietly, discuss things in school and beyond. Realizing that the final exams were coming up, Jack concentrated even more on his studies, devoting all his energy and time to it. He was used to Evan's primitive teasing, but he no longer reacted to it, realizing that he wasn't worthy of his attention. As he continued to study with the principal, Jack made significant progress and became fluent in German. The New Year holidays were approaching, and the school children were preparing for a party. During the disco, Jack overheard two teachers discussing the 2-day absence of the principal. The class teacher was telling the other teacher that John had caught a cold and was lying at home with a fever. "Hey, Mom, let's go see the principal," Jack suggested after he got home and waited for her to get home from work. "Hi, why?" Angelica asked. "Why?" "John is sick and hasn't been at school for 2 days already," replied the son, telling his mother that the principal was sick. "Well, you can visit him, but I'll do it myself. You shouldn't go to him or you might catch an infection," the mother replied, fearing for her son's health. After going home to the school director, the woman went to the pharmacy, bought some medicine and hurried to the house. Hearing a knock on the door, the man opened the door and was pleasantly surprised to see Angelica in front of him. "Hello, Angelica, what are you doing here?" John asked. "My son told me you were sick, so I came to check on you and treat you," Angelica said and smiled. Then she handed over the bag of medicine and headed for the kitchen. Without asking permission, she made John some antidiuretic tea and, finding a pot and some food in the refrigerator, started to prepare soup. "Are you cooking?" the man asked in surprise as he entered the kitchen. "When was the last time you ate?" she asked. "I don't remember. Yesterday I cooked dumplings," Don replied. "That's what I figured. Sit down, you'll have dinner in half an hour," Angelica said, not leaving the stove. "Thank you very much. You are a wonderful hostess and a wonderful woman," said the man, complimenting the guest. "Don't thank me. It's the least I can do for you, because you spend so much time with my son." Angelique was embarrassed and thanked the director, who has been teaching her son for several years for free. "I have to admit that I do it not only because of the good attitude towards Jack, but also because I like you very much." Angelica was embarrassed and did not answer, although she realized that the sympathy was mutual. Having cooked soup and fed the man, she wished him a speedy recovery. "If you need me, call me," Angelica said goodbye, wished him a speedy recovery, and went home. 6 months passed. Jack passed his final exams on excellent and left to enter another city. After a while, John showed interest in Angelica again. Feeling that their sympathy is mutual, the director invited the cleaning lady on a date. She was unable to refuse the man. After several dates, they realized that they were really attracted to each other. Afraid that the relationship would lead to gossip, John decided not to hide, and having confessed his love, offered Angelica to quit. At first, the woman refused such a proposal because she lived alone and she needs not only to provide for herself, but also to help her son, a student. Realizing that it is necessary to act more decisively, the director made Angelica an offer and she, taking a pause for thought, agreed to become his wife. Having legitimized the relationship, the woman agreed with John and resigned from school to pursue the creation of domesticity. 15 years later, the alumni, having rented a room in a cafe, gathered to share successes and see each other. Calling potential guests, Gob invited the class teacher to the reunion and, personally picking her up from home, brings her to the cafe. Everyone is having fun, drinking and socializing, talking about how they spent the last few years and what they've accomplished in that time. Noticing that only one Jack was missing, Evan took the opportunity to make fun of a classmate he teased in high school. "Where's our Jack? Didn't have enough money to come?" Evan asked Gob snidely. "He'll be here any minute," Gob replied indifferently. "Oh look," Maria exclaimed, seeing through the window a motorcade of several expensive cars pulling up to the cafe. "Wow, is the president here?" Evan asked in surprise. His jaw dropped. He was even more surprised when he saw Jack, who was on his way to the reunion, get out of the most expensive car. "Hi everyone, good to see you," Jack said, turning to his classmates. Gob greeted an old friend he had kept in touch with all this time. Sabrina was as surprised as the others and, deciding not to be modest, asked the man a question. "Jack, where did you get such a motorcade from? Did you become a deputy?" "Yes, you guessed it." "Are you serious or joking?" The class teacher could not believe her ears and, sitting down near Jack, asked him to tell more about what he did after school. "After school, I went to a prestigious university in the capital. After graduating with a red diploma, I received an invitation to an internship abroad. After a couple of years of hard work at the embassy, I was promoted and became its head. After working like that for a few more years, I returned to my home country as I got an offer I couldn't refuse. Now I work as an assistant to the head of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Well done. I had no doubt that you would do well, said the teacher, listening to the story of the former student. Yes, you proved that even the son of a cleaning lady could become a decent man, shouted Gob, looking reproachfully at Evan, whose father had gone to jail for bribery, and he had become a simple loader at the market.
Thank you for watching this video to the end. Subscribe to the channel. Like it, write comments if you like the story, and see you on the channel.